Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you on a week-to-week basis looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for the 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, and products that make a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we head to a planet of 9 billion people, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people as far as the food, the fuel, the fiber, and all the basic infrastructure? And I have someone sitting right beside me from the country of Nigeria, but also operating in Washington, D.C. and in Philadelphia of the United States. This is Dr. George Onuorah. He is the Director of Media Relations, When in Need Foundation. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA, and Abuja, Nigeria. And Dr. Onuorah, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you, Dr. Sam.
Glad to have you with us. And it's amazing that you're straddling 2 continents and also 2 very different countries, that of the United States and Pennsylvania, and then Abuja and Nigeria. So tell us a little bit about what's the vision and the mission as far as When in Need Foundation, and when did it actually start?
The When in Need Foundation started some 4.5 years ago. But When in Need Foundation is a humanitarian organization helping people in need in Nigeria and other parts of the world. And what makes When in Need Foundation unique is that we work with people on ground in Nigeria and wherever there any community that we go to that are in need. And we focus on 3 key areas. We focus on agriculture, we focus on health, and we focus on education.
Now, 3 important components for Nigeria, but actually all across the globe now. People would think about agriculture 20, 30 years ago, oh, that's old, it's in the last century and all that.
Right.
The new green actually is agriculture.
Agriculture,
yeah,
definitely.
and that's something very, very important.
Yes,
well, why do you have offices both within the United States and also in Nigeria?
It's very important as we link with Nigeria in order to deliver the kind of services. We go where the need is. So it's very important because Africa is an area that has so much need that we need to address. We have, for instance, in Nigeria, we have over 170 million people, right? And these people are living, for the most part, a great majority of them living under subservient conditions, poverty, malnutrition, and different issues. So it's really important that When in Need Foundation goes there to address the needs, especially as we're here, malaria being one of those. One of the issues that has wreaked a lot of havoc. The scourge of malaria has afflicted a whole millions, especially children. So the When in Need Foundation is also working to see what we can do to alleviate those problems.
Yeah, that's the whole thing too. If you can address malaria, and of course you have yellow fever, dengue, chikungunya, Zika now that's actually reared its very ugly head all around the globe.
Yes.
And now it's actually went into Latin America, and now it's come back into the African continent, and it's much more virulent than it was when it actually left from before. So, I mean, there's real issues there centered around, malaria and other what they call neglected tropical diseases. Now, highlight some of the comments, both private, maybe government, organizations, as far as the When in Need Foundation, what it's doing, and what's some of the ideas that people are sharing about your organization.
The When in Need Foundation, like I stated, is an organization that has taken it upon itself to help address a lot of issues affecting communities in need, especially those in Africa. What we've done is to find out, to work on ways that we can gather resources, whether from private initiatives or through government help or other partnerships, to see how we can go in there, connect with the local folks, and see how we can begin to address these issues, the issues we have in Africa. Just as in other developing countries, is so tremendous that when you need foundation, based on the passion that we have, we really have to be there. And we do this seeking for help and support from all over, wherever we can find it, to see how we can better go in and do something positive to change lives.
So what you're doing is that you're actually looking around the globe, but within Nigeria itself, to try to find resources that you could focus on local communities. But it sounds like also too, is you're working with the local communities itself and look at what are the resources here that could be used maybe differently or more efficiently to help the needs of the people within that local community. So how are you bringing those together? Resources from outside these communities and then to really draw more from the resources within the communities, and how do you put those together and weave that into a coherent package?
Right, that's an excellent question. As you know, on November 2nd, we are trying to do something, especially on the area of malaria, combating malaria, which has afflicted a lot of children and families. We are looking to get partnerships, and we are getting some help from the Israeli consulate. We're also looking to get some help from the Association of Consul Generals, to see what they can do to help us.
Right.
We are looking for help, and we are also Trinity Wall Street, different organizations that have it in their heart to help. So we are not ceding no grounds. Wherever we can find help, we will be there. And so the November initiative or event we're having in New York is actually to see how we can combat malaria, and we've given the target date of by 2020 to see how we can help eradicate malaria, which is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals.
And also, too, the elimination of polio, which is something that Rotary International has had a tremendous focus on the last almost 30 years now to eliminate polio. And so they seem to think that malaria will be the next, because every 30 seconds a child on the African continent dies.
Yes.
Every 30 seconds. Yes. I mean, that's tremendous and horrible statistic that people have. What has been the impact of malaria and all these other neglected tropical diseases that I listed earlier, as far as yellow fever, dengue, all that? Yeah,
the impact of malaria is huge, but I think we in Nigeria, or the When in Need Foundation, what we're also trying to do at the same time is to find ways to address some of the causal concerns, elimination of filth, waste, disposal, disposable water, sanitation, better sanitation, because until we do that, we're only going to be scratching the surface.
Yeah, and that was really leading to the next question about, you've had about 300 years plus or minus as far as Western development going on there, but still there's so much death and illness coming from malaria and all these other tropical diseases that you have there. Why do you think that these are still there and are still bringing the amount of death and sickness that has been there for hundreds of years?
Yeah, I think the major issue is really working on prevention. Okay, we have to really zero in on that. Trying to eliminate the causes of malaria, going to the root, how we present, hygiene issues. We have to solve the hygiene problem in Nigeria as well as in other developing countries where malaria is an issue. And certainly I think the government, to an extent, has to also mobilize some resources, to help organizations such as When in Need, because without resources, we won't be able to deliver the services we need to, and bring it really to the local people who have the need that we are trying to address.
So what you're saying is it's really a collaboration, a partnership between the government, between nonprofits, various international bodies that are operating in there, and of course private industry as well, education.
Definitely.
Now, it seems like your foundation has discovered a very simple way of attacking the mosquito itself that's causing, the spread as far as malaria and all these other tropical diseases, that Skintex MR3. Tell us a little bit about that. Why do you think that has such a future as far as Nigeria is concerned?
Wow, the skin test, is really the top amongst the whatever that's going to be used to stem the tide of malaria infestation. And so the technology, of course, is huge. So we are looking forward to the testing, to the implementation of the skin tests, because as we've heard, when you have a skin test, you are visually no problem, with malaria, bites, or any of the infestation that, is a problem.
Yeah, it's really amazing product and technologies. It's very unique, and that's something we were able to find through the EmeraldPlanet TV. That's one of the probably about the top 20 out of the 2,200 now we've identified, and that's so we're really glad to be able to share that with you. But this is a common scene that we have right here as far as the illness with malaria. Doesn't matter what the age is that people are suffering and all that. So what do you see for the growth and development as far as When in Need Foundation, both in Philadelphia in the United States, and then also in Abuja as far as Nigeria is concerned?
Yeah, the When in Need Foundation is actually is on its way to becoming a movement. The foundation was founded by someone that's very passionate, Chief Dr. Chetachi Ecton. Her passion is what drives the foundation, and currently we are looking to extend it not only to Africa. We've traveled the length and breadth of the world, from Argentina to Dominican Republic to Europe. So it's something that's never gonna end. We are really only just beginning. So.
Well, I tell you, the whole thing about it, if you look at all these young faces that we're putting up here right now, it's just, there's a real need there. And it's just amazing that, everyone is affected. I've been in almost 15 different nations now on the African continent, and the countries you go to is everyone and virtually every family is touched by malaria and again yellow fever, dengue, chikungunya, all these others. So what do you see for your future in this? Just give us 10 or 15 seconds.
The future is great. We will be an amazing work that When in Need Foundation is going to be doing, and so you're certainly going to be hearing about us moving forward, and we are happy to be in this EmeraldPlanet television today.
This is Dr. George Onuorah, Director of Media Relations with the Need Foundation, as we create the EmeraldPlanet.
Okay.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. never give up till they buckle up.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we're looking around the globe for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, and products. And of course, the people are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we go to a planet of 9 billion people, how are we going to be able to take care of all their basic needs, plus the infrastructure that is needed for them? And of course, they're saying by the end of this century, there may be 12 to 13 billion people on the planet. And everybody's saying is we can't even take care of the ones that we have now. What are we going to do when we add all these others? And this gentleman sitting right beside me, Pastor Francis Sesay, is here to attest that actually we're going to take care of everybody and we're going to do it in a grand way. He is the Associate Project Director When in Need Foundation, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA, and Abuja, Nigeria. And Pastor Sesay, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you, Dr. Samanko.
I'm glad to have you with us. And
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Well, you guys are doing really good work, and that's why we wanted to have you here to talk about some of the things you're doing. What is the When in Need Foundation, which is located both in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the USA, and then Abuja, Nigeria? And also, what are your duties as far as the work that you're doing as Associate Project Director?
In the first place, as a pastor, we are called to serve. And what is Christianity without what is Christianity without service to mankind? Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ lived his life to serve. Mm-hmm. He taught his followers to serve. So as a pastor, being given the opportunity by the executive director to serve in that capacity, I felt humble because I see both the social gospel and the gospel itself going two to two. Mm-hmm. And so that is one of the things that I find interesting in working with the When in Need Foundation. It gives me a platform to serve mankind.
Well, the whole thing about this is when you're doing that, and as the Associate Project Director, it's really important as far as leadership is concerned, because we have the best technologies, the best services, the best products on the planet, but if you don't have the leadership, then we're not going to actually be able to do anything with that. So what do you think the people of faith have, why do you think they have a role in the WIN mission of mercy?
The people of faith have a very key role to play in humanitarian service. The reason is this: you cannot disassociate the service to mankind from the faith practice. Christ in his commission asked Peter to take care of the sheep. So if I am a person of faith, I should be concerned with God's creation. I should be concerned in giving support to those who cannot support themselves. Mm-hmm. So there is no way a faith-based institution will disassociate themselves from the needs of the people around the globe.
Yeah, and the whole thing about that, that's really what the communities of faith are all about, is to reach down and help those that can't help themselves.
Yes.
And those that actually can help themselves is to make sure that they're actually reaching out to help others. Yeah. And I think that's what you're talking about, is all this is going in tandem, and we need to have both of those, you know, in tandem so that people are actually reaching out to each other. Yeah. So what have you done as far as reaching out to the communities of faith to make sure that they actually are actively engaged in doing all this, as far as being very visible and supportive within their own communities? And how do you reach out to these various organizations, both the faith community within that, or people that are of faith but working in regular communities, within organizations, and also within governments?
It is an ongoing process. We've been reaching out to a lot of faith-based organizations. We've reached out to the Global Aid Network, and a lot of them, we like bring forward before them the needs that we do come across when we are doing our needs assessment for our project activities. And we bring in up these needs to them. And we reach out a number of churches also. The reason being, many of these faith-based are not informed about the needs that people do have. Some have the resources, but they didn't have the opportunity to deliver them. They don't know that there is a need exists at a certain point. What the When in Need does is for us to do thorough needs assessment, link up those needs with potential benefactors that will support these people that are in need. And so we reach out to a number of faith-based institutions for them to partner with us while we embark on this adventure to lend a helping hand to those in need.
Yeah, and looking at that, there is a message, there's uniformity as far as what you're saying, as far as having everybody in lockstep to work together, those that either in need, those that have the resources to make sure they're taking it to those in need. But how do you want that communication to happen between, you know, these, in essence, generally two groups, the ones that have the resources, yet maybe not sharing enough, the others that need the resources, but what do they need to do? And then also to communicate that both nationally and internationally, and how does that all come together as far as WIN itself?
Well, WIN is like a platform, a meeting platform where those in needs are being represented and those funding are also represented. Because there is the potential of waste. There is also, what I mean is, if those that have the resources to help those that are in need needs a credible institution for them to reach out to those in need. And so what When in Need does is to create that credible avenue wherein the need and the donor meet together. So as short, we are just the platform wherein the need and the materials or the support can be transmitted. We serve the base.
That's absolutely fantastic. So what are the major religions that you have, the faith-based communities within Nigeria itself? I understand there's 3 or 4 major religions, and then there's some traditional religions that you have there. And how can they start working together? So you're going ecumenical across all these different religious groups of faith, in order to, so everybody is part of this process of the development of Nigeria?
That's a very interesting question. With the experience that I've had with the founder of the When in Need, Chief Dr. Ecton, yes, she is a Christian, but she's looked at humanity from a humanity point. She creates the path, the example that we all can coexist with no problems, whether you be Muslim or Christian. And as much as Africa is concerned, we have Christianity and Muslim religion in the dominance. They dominate the faith. We have the presence of African traditional religions. But what she has communicated to us and we uphold is to create a religious-free environment. Our assistance reach right through, whether you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, When in Need serves you as a human being.
That's very important.
Yeah,
to look at everyone, and also too the whole thing about, you know, you go back to the old song of, all the children, on the earth. Doesn't matter what color they are, what religion, anything about that. The fact is they need to be cared for and then be able to grow so they in turn can care for others. And so I think that's a powerful message to have there. What also, malaria, the elimination of neglected tropical diseases is a real movement as far as what you're doing as far as When in Need Foundation. So what are you doing, 2 or 3 major activities and also maybe programs that you have through the WIN organization to address malaria and all these other tropical diseases?
Our target group primarily are kids and women. Working with them, we've seen so much needs. We've gone to communities that we've seen a suckling mother struggling to feed a sick baby. Mm-hmm. And what we've been able to do in the past was to provide for these needs. We've been doing medical missions. Mm-hmm. Cases that we cannot handle, we make referral. And then we follow up paying the cost. The prevailing sickness in Africa is malaria. Mosquitoes are all over the place, causing a lot of deaths in the lives of both young and old. And from the experiences that we've gathered during our medical missions, we've seen that it is malaria is the highest cause of death. And so we are now looking at a sustainable approach to combat malaria in Africa, taking Nigeria as a pilot phase. We've discovered a product that is called Skintex, which we've done our preliminary research about, and we've done our assignments, and now comes down to the stage of acquiring this product to be supplied to the many families that we've been targeting in Nigeria. Our challenge now is the raising of funds to meet that very huge challenge, because we cannot eliminate malaria, but we can combat it. We can mitigate its spread.
Yeah, and understand, too, that you're working with both local governments, national government, international bodies like UNICEF, WHO, World Health Organization, and others. So how is the WIN organization, this is probably the last question because we only have a minute, how is the WIN organization able to coordinate all these different groups to focus on malaria, focus on the youth and the adults and females to make sure you're lessening this negative impact in the whole society?
We've mobilized our own base team. When In Need Foundation has an African desk in Nigeria, they've gone to the government officials, they've gone to United Nations High Commission for Refugees, they've reached out to UNICEF, and we brought to their notice the alarming rate of malaria. And so therefore, we believe with our Executive Director traveling to Africa in a couple of days, we'll pull all those forces together and see a success in our fight.
That's fantastic. This is Pastor Francis Sesay. He is Associate Project Director, One in Need Foundation, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, U.S., and Abuja, Nigeria, as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation.
You're resigning?
Why? You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
Oh, I forgot. I'll do better. Please don't quit on me.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bag your lunch instead of going out. $6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally. I did. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls. But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that strollers have the right of way on the sidewalk?
Yes.
Yep, I did. Did you guys
Did you know that kids who eat breakfast have higher GPAs?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's actually what I was going to say.
Did you know babies should never touch silver? It's really bad for them.
I knew that.
Did you guys know that statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah. That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the-right seat to make sure your child is protected.
I'm putting that on my blog.
I just put it in mine.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet. As on a week-to-week basis, we're looking in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices that are making a difference as we go through the 21st century. And as you know, the continent of Africa has gone from about 850 million people to 1.2 billion people, almost in a period of about 5 years. It's the fastest growing region on the globe as far as population is concerned. And so there's a very big strain as far as resources are concerned. But also the real concern is about malaria, chikungunya, yellow fever, dengue, many other of these what they call neglected tropical diseases that are having a real negative impact on the populations there. And when you have a child dying every 30 seconds on the African continent, what's going to be done about this to reverse this trend? And we have someone sitting right beside us who's actually very actively involved in doing all that and doing very real work. This is Dr. Chetachi Ecton. She is the CEO and president of what's called When in Need Foundation of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, here in the United States, and also Abuja in Nigeria. And Dr. Ecton, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Well, thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you here. And there's really a lot of good work that's coming out of your organization, and thank you for coming on to share about this. You're the president and CEO of this When in Need Foundation, which is a very rapidly growing nonprofit both in the United States and Nigeria. And there are women involved in this, and you're really taking an active focus as far as women and children. Tell us a little bit about that. What is so difficult for the women in Nigeria and the African continent as far as dealing with these tropical diseases, and at the same time, how are they becoming part of the solution for this on the African continent?
Well, as you know, we actually live in a man's world, not a woman's world. So in Africa, it's far much different than it is here in the United States. The women, the girls, the ladies, we take second, back, turns. We're never up there with the men. We are the ones that takes care of the families. Actually, we are the breadwinners, but we're not considered breadwinners. So we struggle hard in the society to survive. We struggle so hard to be noticed. And most of the time, the illness that affects us women are not really taken for granted. We basically have to do everything necessary to care for the family. But then when we're doing that, we forget to care for ourselves.
And that's really not a good thing, because you have to take care of yourselves, and one of the dictums is love others as you love yourself. So if you're taking care of yourself physically and through health, we have to do the same thing for others at the same time. But you actually are the president CEO. You've started this, which now is an international nonprofit organization. Is it more difficult for women in Nigeria or even other countries around the globe to actually start one of these organizations? And if that's true, why is that true?
Well, because regardless of where we are, we're minorities. We don't get the opportunities that the man gets. We can go to the bank and get a loan. We can we can try to start an organization without anybody telling us that we cannot do it. So as women, yes, we have difficulties in starting organizations. And I can tell you, for me, I had difficulty starting mine because of lack of funding and lack of trust that individuals have on me as a woman, that I can actually start a growing foundation that can benefit women, men, and children. Yes, the funds are not there.
Yeah. So the whole thing is that you just have to work much harder to get to the same level as someone else that's reaching out and trying to do something like yours, which is really a nonprofit, but also wants to do good for humanity and for women and children. And I tell you, that's fantastic things. What motivated you to start your own international foundation instead of just joining someone else's that has an international foundation?
The passion to give back. The passion to realize that we are each other's brothers and sisters keepers. The passion to do good for humanity. The passion to be able to give back. The passion to say thank you. And the passion to say I love you. And what can I do to help you?
That's very simple. And that's the whole thing. We forget about how simple this is, this outreach, is just to be able to care for others. And as I was saying earlier, care for others if we care for ourselves. But you know, that seems to be a very difficult lesson to learn, Dr. Ecton. Why is that so difficult for human beings to learn that lesson and then to practice it on a day-to-day basis?
Selfishness, greed, not caring for one another. There's a whole lot of things, you know. We tend to say we love you or I love you, but actually we don't know what that means, you know. But for me, I mean, I can talk for everyone, but for me, I can say that what I'm doing comes right from my heart, from my soul, because I've been there. I know exactly what it means not to have. I know exactly what it means to be sick. I know exactly what it means to be hungry. So what I do comes naturally because of my experiences, which actually push me forward to what it is that I'm doing right now in giving back to mankind.
That's fantastic. Now, looking at this, you're looking for, you know, to get international bodies, various agencies from around the world become involved with malaria and all these other tropical diseases that you have there. But the question is, and that someone called in and asked, what is it that you've been funding things yourself through the early years as far as starting up this organization, but now you're reaching out further than that. So why this outreach for these international bodies instead of just looking at it, this is something that's internal to Nigeria and to the local communities there? And what is bringing the difference between what you've done in the past, which has been in water and food and other kinds of things, but now in malaria, you're going beyond that?
Well, I can tell you something. You know, let me give you an example or synopsis of this global initiative that is called Malaria No More. Nigeria has a population of 177 million. Out of that population, 48 million have malaria cases. Now, that will tell you that Nigeria is at risk right there. So, for me, looking at the children, the women, dying, the people dying every day of malaria, and here in this society, in this world, we have organizations or pharmaceutical companies that have manufactured medications or drugs that can cure malaria in a day. And then we have researchers that have methods that stop mosquito-bearing malarias. And then here in corporate America, we have Syntex that have developed blankets that can keep malaria away. But then I ask myself, why is it that we have all these resources in this world, but yet 48 million cases, people suffer malaria every year in Nigeria? To me, more needs to be done.
Yeah, and my whole thing about that 48 million, many of these are going to be recurring cases. And so even though you have that same number, it doesn't mean that's the same people, because as the mosquito, which is the most dangerous animal on the planet, kills far more people. They're saying there's more people die from malaria on the planet than all the wars over the last decade. I mean, that's an astonishing number of people.
Yes.
And when you have a child dying every 30 seconds, I mean, that's a real tragedy as far as humankind is concerned. So looking at the malaria, I understand the drive to do that, but it's such a huge project, and it's such a huge challenge. So why would, When in Need Foundation decide we're going to take the biggest challenge we have in the whole country right now, which is, the losses and the deaths from malaria, and make it our own project? Why do that? Why embrace something that's so big and so challenging?
Why not? Why not?
I would agree with you.
Why not? If we're our brothers' keepers, if we're concerned about these individuals and children that are dying of malaria, and yet nothing is being done, why won't we take up the challenge, So we've taken up the challenge because we know that we can do much good. We know that we can reach the masses. We know we can go to the communities. We can reach those individuals in the villages, in the rural areas that the big organizations cannot reach. We're home-based, and we know we can do more. Why not? You know, and we're reaching out to the communities, we're reaching out to the whole world to help us, you know, find a way to stop the deaths and these malaria cases in Nigeria.
Yeah, and just looking at this image here, this is something in one night. A gentleman hung his blanket that he had from the Skintex MR3. And these are the number of insects. Many of these are malaria-carrying mosquitoes that actually by the morning, they were dead. Yes. And so no more of those. And so
it's amazing.
It really is amazing, and it's something that really needs to be done. But, you know, going beyond the malaria and all that, what are some of the other projects that your organization's been involved in? Because you've done many good things. So share with our audience some of those other good things that you've done.
Well, we've done agriculture, and we're still doing agriculture because we want to be a part of, you know, stopping hunger or childhood hunger. We have education programs because we believe that education is the best way or the tools of alleviating poverty. But right now, we're also looking at trauma, because we know that PTSD is one of the things that people do not pay too much attention to. And a lot of women and children are going through a lot of trauma due to the terrorist group. And we're now working with, or we're looking for partners right now. And we have this organization in Israel that we're looking at partnering with to address the issue of trauma. And we're also looking at Natel Group in Israel also to partner with us to deal with the processing of trauma that the little kids, the girls, the women are going through, especially in Nigeria right now due to the Boko Haram and so on and so forth.
Now, looking at when you started this, so this is your own organization, but yet even if we start something, it's, you know, it really gets to us in a very positive way. So what are some of the positive impacts that you've realized by going through this process of starting your own nonprofit and then being able to carry it forward to have real impact in the lives of so many thousands of people? And this is going to be the last question.
A lot. But I look at my children. My children are my inspiration, and my family. And I believe that God put us in this world for something, and He put us in this world to be resources for others to gain from.
Wow, that's a fantastic answer. This is Dr. Chetachi Ecton. She is the President, CEO of Win and Need Foundation, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA, and Abuja, Nigeria, as we create the Emerald Planet.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
I dare you. I dare you to change the world. Yeah, you. Getting that college education. I dare you to be somebody important. Like be a teacher. Or a reality TV star. I dare you to stand up here. To call the shots. To be a role model.
An inspiration. An innovator.
To be a teacher. Think you can change my life? Make me excited about science like you? Have a career that really means something? Then do it. I dare you.
They say you don't have to be so strong.
But this is my mother, my purpose. Strength is not optional. See, I lift her now like she raised me then. So I know my strength is super, but I'm still human.
Oh, look who's here.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet and Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. and the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President and Executive Director of Emerald Planet and the Emerald Planet TV. And we're talking about the continent of Africa and also a group that's taken on a mighty task that's looking to eliminate malaria, chikungunya, many other tropical diseases that are there that are causing thousands of deaths, and actually a death every 32nd of a child on the African continent. And so how do we address this and at the same time to bring community and long-term development to each nation, each community actually, and then also on the continent of all 54 different nations. So this is Spencer Chemwe. He is the president and principal and the senior advisor as far as Strategy 21 Partners. So I like that name.
Correct.
That's a great name there that you have in New York City, New York.
Yeah.
And we'd like to thank you for being on the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you for having us.
It's been a long time trying to get you on here.
Long time. It's been years in operation.
We're glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about this Strategy 21 Partners and the work that it's doing, and why is it so important as far as the bridging from the United States to Africa, the continent, and back?
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much for that question. It's a group of professional partners that are led by a very intelligent and academically inclined and professionally poised lady who worked with Grey Advertising for over 30 years in corporate America, and they're taking on projects in communication, working with different organizations, some accredited with the United Nations, some not, and some organizations like the When in Need Foundation that are directly working with the communities on the ground. So Strategy 21 is working in communication areas to scale up the way these organizations are operating.
That's a very powerful statement there, Spencer, and thank you for sharing that. What is Nigeria's position? Because we're focusing, although we're on the African continent, but also Nigeria specifically. So what is its position as civil society development and bringing that in with environmental and economic development at the same time in order to improve the lives on a day-to-day basis of people and communities throughout Nigeria and all the other 53 other countries?
Well, you see, Nigeria has the biggest population in Africa, and with that comes a very huge responsibility. But first, you have a lot of graduates in Nigeria, a lot of people with technical know-how. But when it comes to the civil society, you find a lot of civil society groups doing great things for the people. They have taken on the initiative to work with the people directly. So the civil society landscape is so wide. Some are in environmental issues, some are in health issues, some are in education issues. But the conundrum or the way that the When in Need Foundation has taken, it has kind of blended all these issues to say, what are these key issues? And it is reflective of what other like-minded organizations in Nigeria, like WIN, are doing. What they're trying to get at is, how does civil society complement government and corporates' efforts to end poverty, to alleviate suffering? So Nigeria is taking the lead. It has got that hegemonic powers to take the lead in the 21st century.
And the whole thing about it, it actually has the natural resources to do that. Of course, everybody knows about oil and natural gas, but it has agriculture and just virtually any other kinds of natural resources that you can think of in order to put it in and invest in bringing about real change. But having this balance between civil society, environmental, and economic development, why do you think that's key key, not only for Nigeria as we go through the 21st century, but all 54 nations on the African continent. Again, this balance between these.
You see, one thing that you are going to hear from my partner, Harriet Mutluwais, the word you are going to hear is corporate social responsibility. You see, all corporations, almost all corporations are in Nigeria. ExxonMobil, Dunlop, and you can name the Fortune 500s. But what the balance here is, how do these corporations give back to the communities they are working in? And so we're trying to create a balance where we say, okay, let us see how the goals, the Millennium Development Goals, for example, that were created by the United Nations and now they are called the Sustainable Development Goals. How do we create meaningful partnerships that can cooperate to end human suffering? And that's the kind of balance we are trying to pursue. Nations may not be there yet. When in Need Foundation may not be there yet. By virtue of our coming today, we are heralding the message that we can get more partners on board to hold us in balance as we get on the zenith of delivery.
And what you're saying really is, and this is the subtle and not so subtle part of your message, it's collaboration. Sure. We have to collaborate with everyone within society. It doesn't matter whether they're government agencies, nonprofits, private business, communities of faith. They all need to be collaborating and involved in being in the solution. Looking at malaria and all these tropical diseases that are wreaking havoc to homes and communities in Nigeria and all across the African continent, why are we talking about this so much? But yet at the same time, we still have tens of thousands of people dying every year of malaria and other tropical diseases, and it just keeps going on and on and on.
You see, while we are talking about it, let me first backpedal a little bit. You know, what Win has realized and what Win is saying is that the approach of one size fits all in malaria in Africa is not going to work. And when I say one size fits all in Africa, when someone has malaria, I can give you the prescription. I don't have a medical background. I can tell you, take 4 tablets of chloroquine, take 2 after 6 hours, and it goes on. Or take 3 tablets of Fancida. Now, the When in Need Foundation is that we work with the people. That approach is not working. We need to deconstruct the paradigm of failure in Africa by prescribing the same things over and over again. We need to merge in with the Strategy 21 and engage on the methods of the 21st century. So Win is saying, no, let us get the blankets, the high-tech blankets that's going to scare away mosquitoes and
also kill them.
And also kill them. Yeah. So it's a two-edged sword. So we are inspired as the Strategy 21 to work with the When in Need Foundation, and we know that the other organizations we are working with, we are telling them to get the model from the When in Need Foundation because it's a direct model of working with the people on the ground.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Looking at communities in Nigeria, what do you see that's happening there that's unique and special? You're talking about, you know, this is a hegemonic country because of the size of the population, the wealth, the natural resources and all that. So what do we actually have as far as what we're going to bring? And this actually comes from Sally in Alaska, that she wants to know something about this very point, is that what is special about Nigeria? How can you do things there like the WIN Foundation and have that morph to other communities and other countries?
That's a good question. I can talk of the mental revolution that is going on in Nigeria with the communities because they are knowledgeable. They have come to understand that we can own the future by ourselves, about owning the problems yourselves. The sense of ownership has never been this big. You know, the reason why the When in Need Foundation has taken advantage of that kind of operation, or the kind of reality, is that the people are ready. There will never be a better time to seize that opportunity and work with the people because they are ready. They are ready to own their future. They are ready to own their health future, their educational future, their agricultural future. So all those compendiums are really coming to reality right now. So that is what is happening. There's a mental revolution, there's a sharing of the mind, and we are ready to go in and bridge the resource divide between corporations and the community. And the only organization that is doing that It's the When in Need Foundation. And I say so because they are directly working with the people. And that is what is unique about the When in Need Foundation. You can talk about other organizations where they take their resources, the overhead, it funds this, it funds that. But with the When in Need Foundation, it's particular, it's direct. It's more operational than aspirational, I would say.
Well, the whole thing about that, operational versus aspirational, it's all about sustainability. Sustainability, resilience, and innovation, those three things. And so when you're combining those three things and you're doing that within the communities, how do you think that really is going to impact in a very positive way in Nigerian society, and then in turn use that as a national policy or a national example to the other 53 nations on the African continent?
Always. We are encouraging WIN as Strategy 21 to enhance intentional partnerships. We have partnered with an organization called Natar, an Israeli company, an Israeli organization that works with resilience and trying to work with communities in the issues of trauma processing. So what we are saying is that we have the population, we have the people, we have the reality, you have the resources. Let us bridge the gap. Let us enhance partnerships. So what is happening not only in Nigeria, but across the African continent, there is a wave, there is a hunger for partnerships with the people that have got resources to work with the African people, to work with the local people. Now, we want to think local, yes. We are not trying to give away our local school of thought. We want to think local, but act global.
Yeah.
So that's where the partnership comes in.
Important. We're about running out of time, so the whole thing is looking at malaria, all these other tropical diseases. What do you think that you're learning in the Nigerian communities that are unique and different, that may be a best practice that can carry forward to other communities, other parts of Nigeria, but also across the other 53 nations of the African continent?
The best practice is to respond to the current challenges of the time, to take advantage of the technological age, to say, hey, look, we are in 2017 and not in 1717, and we have got the gift of technology. Go there, get the high-tech blankets to speak to our own problems. And this should not only happen in Nigeria, it should happen in the whole West Africa and in the whole Africa and be tied in to the Millennium Development Goals, and the message will be out there.
Okay, thank you very much for being with us. I tell you, this is absolutely fantastic. This is Spencer Chinwe. He is the principal and senior advisor for Strategy 21 Partners, New York City, New York. And very powerful things that are going on with the organization that you're with.
Thank you.
And we're glad to have you after all these years that we've known you. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. When we look at this, we're going to leave that as the last image.
Thank you for having us.
But very powerful message that you have. And this is what needs to be done, is that people are taking control of themselves to help others and to push that back out. Thank you for being with us, Spencer, and thank you for being with us as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.